what I love about this is you think big. And so it's not just for the pastor. Yes. You want it to be for the church, for the staff. Everybody will get to enjoy this Sabbath and Sabbath rest. So talk about the Sabbath principles and the things that you want people to know about the importance of this and the purpose of this for everyone.
Yeah, when Moses went up on his own sabbatical, went up into Mount Sinai and got the 10 Commandments, after 40 days he comes back down, and one of the commandments, that fourth commandment, was to remember the Sabbath day, to honor the Sabbath day. Mm-hmm. And Moses spoke of a couple of things. He spoke of, one, God worked 6 days, rested the seventh day in Genesis, in creation. Wow. But he also he spoke of when God brought the children of Israel out of bondage in Egypt. They had been in slavery for 430 years as a people. And so when you're in slavery, you don't take a day off. You work every day. Right. And so now they're free, and God is letting them know that when you are free, you don't have to work every day. You could take a day off. And so this idea of rest, of reflection, of renewal, of restoration, and of rejoicing. God looked back on the 6 days he worked and said, it is good. So now that day of Sabbath that we are encouraging every member of our congregation to set a day aside that you can reflect upon the things of God, get rested, get charged back up, recharge, and rejoice over what God has done before you start moving into something else. And so that's the principle. And as Elder Shrewsbury was talking about best practices, well, the Black church is just now catching up with it. And I don't just mean Eastern Star Church, I mean the Black church across this nation. But we find the white church has been doing it, and sometimes they make it mandatory for their pastors that every 7 years you have to take some time off.
Absolutely.
And then we looked at government, we looked at corporate America, universities. Mm-hmm. So we looked across the board. Jesus said, learn from unrighteous mammon. So we learned from some other people and how significant this is and what they do for their leaders to make sure that their leaders are rested enough to handle the workload that is going on. So all of this is tied into Scripture. We've looked at it in a practical sense. And I got to say, too, that the Lilly Foundation has this clergy renewal program where they encourage pastors and churches to make sure that they're taking advantage of the sabbaticals for their Christian leaders. And then they come behind with resources to help make that happen. And then Christian Theological Seminary has teamed up with the Lilly Foundation. And so they bring a lot of knowledge and information and direction. And our friend, Frank Thomas, friend of mine, and our church now, Dr. Frank Thomas. And so just listening to people with knowledge and people who've done it and best practices. And now what does that look like for Eastern Star Church? Mm-hmm. And for us, it's not just the pastor taking 6 months off, but it's our congregation understanding this is God's will for the life of believers. And what does that look like for you and your family? And then, and hopefully Pastor Murdoch will talk a little bit about this. What does that look like for our staff?
That's where we were going.
So we have a bunch of staff, and they work extremely hard to accomplish some of the things that you were talking about we're doing. It takes a lot of behind the scene things to make that happen. What does that look like for us as a congregation? So I'm pretty excited that our church is open to it, listening to it. We planned for it, and now we'll see the implementation of it in a few days.